Hello, and welcome to Animal Chiropractic Clinic Chatter, a podcast where Dr. O from All Creatures Every Spine interviews doctors and animal owners that utilize animal chiropractic to get their unique perspectives. Yes, it's really a thing. Dr. O utilizes his 30 years of experience as both an animal chiropractor and veterinarian, and to dig deep into the discussion of complex issues affecting the lives of your animal friends and companions. Join us for this educational episode. Thanks for joining us for this portion of the episode as Dr. O begins to answer the question, what is animal chiropractic? He will look at how the chiropractic adjustment is a valuable and viable treatment for what ails your animals.
Standard Process is a third-generation family-owned company in rural Wisconsin. You could say we just make nutritional supplements, but we know we're changing lives. We grow ingredients on our own certified organic farm without pesticides or herbicides because we think they should be as close to nature as possible. Quality is our priority. That's why we do everything right here, from hand-picking the seeds to delivery, so you know exactly what goes into every bottle.
What is animal chiropractic? Animal chiropractic is amazing, sometimes unbelievable, sometimes seems like it's a miracle. But animal chiropractic is just the science. It's based on things like gravity, physics, science, the science that when the brain was formed as a neural tube and then everything else was formed, and all the organs and all the cells in the body are controlled by the brain. And there's a feedback mechanism that makes sure that you breathe when you have to breathe and you don't need to think about breathing. And when you breathe, oxygen goes into your body or air goes into your body and the cells take the oxygen out. And then that oxygen goes to your from your lungs to all the other cells in your body to keep you alive. And that's kind of what chiropractic is based on. Because what chiropractic does is it makes sure that all the wires are firing just the way they should be. And so we restore nervous flow. You can think about it, like lights in a Christmas tree. When one bulb goes out or you get one bulb weak and the lights start to flicker, sometimes it's difficult to find. But you go in, you find that one place where it's not working right, and boom, you fix that one spot and the whole light string works again. And that's kind of the way animal chiropractic works. We go in, we have an animal that's not working right. Could be muscles, but let's think about what the muscles are. You've got the muscles that work the legs, you've got the muscles that make you run fast. You also have the muscles that digest your food, because the stomach and the intestines are just one long muscle. And you also have the muscle that makes your heart beat. That's a muscle. So about everything is a muscle. All muscles are controlled by the nervous system. And if the control is proper, then we have a nice toned muscle. If it's not proper, then we get a flabby tone. So what kind of flabby tone? Well, we've got legs that don't work right. We have, intestines that don't process the food right, don't digest what needs to come out, that, just let the food go right through. Diarrhea, constipation, nerves that don't work right, muscles that don't work right, irregular heartbeat. All those things can be tied to faulty communication of the nervous system. And so your animal chiropractor job is to remove those interferences. They are the only profession in the world that knows how to identify and remove vertebral subluxations or nervous system interferences from animals without doing surgery. The number of animals that it works on is amazing. There are stories and stories in the Listen to the Who is Animal Chiropractic. You're going to hear all kinds of stories about successful animal chiropractic and successful animal chiropractors. We had a lady bring a dog in to the students, to class. It was her first trip. Never had been to animal chiropractic before. But she got on the list. We called her up, said, hey, we need some dogs for lab. She said, okay, I'll bring some dogs. She brought her dog in. She looked at the student and said, I'm going to be quite honest with you. If this doesn't work, we're at our wit's end. This dog is going to be put to sleep. She's lived a good life, but it must be time because she can't get up and get around. She no longer enjoys the quality of life. 2 days later, we got a text message. Thank you so much for giving Lulu a second life. She's amazing. She's getting up and down. She's moving all around. She's doing fantastic. I'll be in next week for my second visit. Thank you again. This stuff is amazing. It's not amazing. It just is. What we need to do as animal chiropractors and friends and people who utilize animal chiropractic is tell everybody about it. It is our job to educate people about a change in the paradigm so that we go and we use animal chiropractic first, then drugs, then surgery. And that is the way it's supposed to be, above, down, inside out. Until next time, have a well-adjusted life. Thank you.
Make sure to visit our website, allcreatureseveryspine.com, where you can subscribe to the show and learn more about getting your animals adjusted. If you are in the Meridian, Texas area, drop in on a Tuesday afternoon to get your animals adjusted. If that isn't possible, schedule a consultation on your animal's health with Dr. O. You can also purchase a copy of Dr. O's book. Yes, it's really a thing.
Helping others experience an abundant life with the gift, art, and blessing that is animal chiropractic is our sole mission at All Creatures Every Spine. It's what we do. It's what we love. It truly is what keeps us motivated to help people just like you. I truly love the art of chiropractic. It drives me to provide the highest level of chiropractic possible. And as fellow chiropractic business owners, it's that love that drives us to become better. However, the reality is that sometimes running a successful business can be challenging. Sometimes there can be obstacles to overcome. We all know the old saying, if it were easy, everyone would do it. Well, one thing that is really easy is marketing our clinic with a professional animal chiropractic website by the Chiro Website Pro, Tony Seymour. He's a professional web designer, and his team at Chiro Website Pro take good care of us. They simply make marketing our practice 100% hassle-free. If you're looking for the #1 hands-free way to market your practice, give the Chiro Website Pro a call at 423-779-4630 or simply visit www.chirowebsitepro.com and make sure you ask them about the special ACES discount and let them know Dr. Amy and Dr. O sent you. You'll be glad.
Join us as Dr. O interviews a certified chiropractor, veterinarian, or an animal owner. These enthusiastic people explain how they utilize animal chiropractic to alter the lives of the animals in their communities.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Animal Chiropractic Clinic Chatter. I'm your host, Dr. O, and we're here with Dr. Cody today. Dr. Cody, tell us a little bit about your practice.
So I've been practicing here in White Sulphur for about 4 years. I do 3 days a week, humans, and then the other 3 days a week, I do horses and dogs. And it's at least 50% of my practice is animals, or if not more. I haven't gone through and checked out the numbers specifically, but I know it's a big chunk of my practice.
All right. What's your biggest win with animal chiropractic?
Well, they're all wins. I mean, every time you're able to get your hands on an animal and adjust them, it's a win. I mean, you see the response of an animal after an adjustment. It's fun. It gets me up in the morning.
Keeps you going. All right.
Keeps me going. Yeah.
So how long have you been a chiropractor?
Since 2008, I graduated. So.
Yeah. All right. And then you started adjusting animals almost right out of school, right?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you went and came to ACES and got certified in 2000 and maybe 17,
17, yeah.
Yeah. And how was what surprised you the most?
Well, as far as like the education on the anatomy of the horse and the anatomy of the dog, and then the specific adjustments that you could do to, release that subluxation. Whereas before, I had a general idea of how to adjust. This was more specific, and my results were way better. But also, the thing that probably was the biggest change was I had more confidence going out and doing it. So the first, from 2008 to 2017, I maybe seen 30 horses, and a handful of dogs and cats. But as far as now, I'm seeing, anywhere from 60 to 70 horses or animals a week. So.
And before that was a month or a year or total?
Yeah, that was total. I didn't see a whole lot.
All right. I remember you told me a story after you went home from Module 1 about a dog you'd been seeing for a while. Do you remember that story?
Yeah.
You saw it, then you adjusted his pelvis differently?
Yeah. Yep.
And you want to tell everybody about that one?
I don't know if I can remember that one. So I do remember one though, and we'll do that one because modular 1, you taught us how to adjust horses too in the Atlas, and I did all that and I got them all adjusted, and then we did the extremities module, and I came back to that same horse and it was a shoulder issue, and every time I'd lift that horse's leg up, it would rear back, and so I'd asked you, I think on module 2, what was going on, why is that horse doing that? And you said it's a shoulder, and it's, and here's how to adjust it. And so when I went back and adjusted that same horse, it was a different horse after I got it adjusted. So that was a huge improvement, to the animal.
Yeah. So once you knew how to adjust the whole body.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. All right. And how does being specific go with your human practice? Does it fit in a lot better with your philosophy?
For sure. Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
I know you're above, down, inside out in your human practice. So.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So What do you wish every animal owner knew?
How important that spine is, how important that nervous system is. You know, they all throw all kinds of drugs at it and they'll do surgeries on it, but man, if you can just get it adjusted, that animal can turn around, and it can turn around pretty quick. You know, I've adjusted several horses and dogs too, that they were on their last, you know, resort, and we're planning on putting it down, and it comes out of it. So, you know, if more animal owners knew, you know, that we were out there, it would make a huge difference in their animal's life.
Yeah, definitely. We just have to, you know, let everybody know about animal chiropractic. And we need, you know, how many, I mean, you're a chiropractor, but how many new patients, human patients, have you got in your practice because you've adjusted their animals first?
I'd say quite a few. I don't know the exact number, but I've definitely got several that way.
Yeah. People are like, oh no, I would never go see a chiropractor.
Right. Yeah.
And then you adjust their animal, and then they're like, wow, well, maybe this stuff works, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And in one specific case, I was in Helena, Montana, and I probably have adjusted her horses at this point, probably 10 different times. And she was, every time she was the owner of the animals was gimping around, and you know, I'd tell her, boy, you need to see a chiropractor. You know, you don't have to go to me if you don't want to, but you need to see a chiropractor. And like, I'd say 5 months ago, she's finally said, okay, I want you to adjust me. So I've been adjusting her, and sometimes it's just her that she'll have me come and adjust, you know, her, because she knows how it's helping her. And she was a trainer, and so she said it's made a huge difference in her ability to train those horses. And so
cool. So keeping both the rider and the horse adjusted are huge.
Yes. Yeah.
Increasing that communication. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and I think it's important too when the owner gets the adjustment too, because then they understand what the chiropractic adjustment does for them, and then they understand more so about what it's doing for their animal too.
Yeah, it's not just a pain thing. It's not just a
right.
Cool.
Function.
Yes. Yeah. Function of every organ in the body. Balance the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous systems.
Yep.
You know, keep everything working on an even keel. So yeah, you bet. Anything else? So what has surprised you most about doing animal chiropractic?
Yeah, and surprised me. I mean, some of the cases that I've had are surprising. I had a horse again in Helena that was getting up there in age. I'd say he was 22 without looking at my notes. I think he was about 22 years old, and his hind legs were crossed, and he could barely walk. He was just about, that's one that they were thinking about putting down. And I adjusted him once and could tell that the stifles were very, very sore from being out for so long. So I told them to back their horse and to help that strengthen the stifle. And within a week, I came back and that horse was walking on both hind legs. And, you know, they couldn't believe it. And I was just happy that they gave me the chance, you know, to adjust their animal and to see that, you know, response, you know, and the horse has only gotten better. I think I got 4 more adjustments on it, and they kept backing it, and, you know, they made it through a winter, which they didn't think that the horse was going to make it through another winter. And he's coming out of this last winter stronger than he's ever, you know, came out of one before. So it's just those things they surprise you, but you know that it's always possible with every adjustment too.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Saying has to do with consistency and branding and marketing. And that's a lot of stuff that people that have initiatives don't understand. They don't have a full grasp on that. It's like playing darts with your eyes shut. You kind of throw it at the board, you hope that it hits.
Right.
And I think that a lot of times when you're not organized with proper strategy around branding and marketing, it can go on deaf ears. And when you understand that consistency is something that's, highly valuable to any brand, you can't almost put out enough content. So when you're saying that you're putting out, a show that you don't think anybody's watching, put out 5 shows, put out 10 shows, and maybe, like you said, one person will connect with that, and that might be the one person that knows how to change the world. So it's not always about the vanity metrics of high numbers of views or, the popularity of anything. I really believe that it's the one person, and it's the select group of people that we can have impact with. It's not the, I had 10,000 views on this thing. No, it's the 5 people possibly that really took that to heart that could do something with it. So it's not always about the big, the clout numbers. It's really about the impact numbers.
Yes, you're right. And people ask me all the time, like, I was at a gala event, a big chiropractic gala event out in California, and standing in line to get my beverage, and what do you do, and where do you practice? And I said, well, I'm an animal chiropractor in Texas. And the question was, why? Why would you adjust animals? Well, one, it's a drugless method of healing. Like you said earlier, people are looking for it. And 2, if we put drugs in our animals, those drugs end up in our environment, and that eventually ends up hurting us. And we adjust food animals, we adjust chickens, we adjust steers, we adjust sheep, we adjust food animals. And there are people out there I know listening to both of our podcasts that are vegan, and they're like, oh my gosh, why are you adjusting food animals? Well, if we put a bunch of drugs in those food animals and that manure becomes fertilizer for your tomato plant, guess what? It's not organic, even though you've used it. And there are certain drugs that kill dung beetles, and we kill all the dung beetles. Quite frankly, it won't be very long before we're up to here in the manure. So we need to keep the whole environment safe, and chiropractic can do that.
Well, what you're explaining there is something we learned in like grade school and middle school, the nitrogen cycle. And when you have a healthy source of compost, it develops a healthy source of regrowth. And I think that people don't really understand the cycle of life anymore. And I really believe that it starts from cradle to grave, or from conception to coffin, whatever we want to say. I think that there's a lot to do with understanding that what you eat is you. That's kind of something that they were like driving home. You are what you eat, right? But you are what you eat eats. And that's something that people need to understand too, is that you become what you eat eats. And if what you eat eats is medicine, then what you eat is medicine. So that's a quick way to let somebody know that when their animals are full of drugs, antibiotics, growth hormones, stuff like that, then when you eat that, that's you. So you have to be careful what you source as your food source too, as what we call, your quality of life is only as good as the things that you eat. And the guy that started Pilates, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have heard of Pilates. Joseph Pilates said, you're only as healthy as your spine. Well, if we're only as healthy as our spine and we are what we eats, then we have to take care of our spine, and we have to take care of what we feed ourselves, and we have to take care of what we feed the animals that are in our lives.
Correct. You bet. You hit it right on the head. And so chiropractic, and one of the things that you mentioned is you work with a specific group of chiropractors within the chiropractic profession. And you want to tell us which group you prefer to work with?
Well, the chiropractic profession, not to confuse anybody, is a healing art. And the shirt stands for above, down, inside out. It's philosophy. And I actually represent all chiropractors except for the ones that want to remove the historic preservation of the profession. So I don't want to, divide or fragment or section off like the chiropractic profession. That's what's made our show so incredibly powerful, is because we've torn down every wall. We've torn down the walls between all of the powerful acronym groups, whether I don't even need to say them, but any association that's out there or group. We've interviewed almost 900 people in the past 3 years and 4 months. So we've talked to people from all walks of life in the beautiful profession of chiropractic. And one of the things I would like to drive home is they're all more alike than they are different. And there's more commonalities about the practitioner than there are differences within the practitioner. So whether they've been practicing for 40 years or 14 days, chiropractors want to go out there and change the world. And they want to give, they want to love, they want to serve, and they want to do that out of abundance. So when you think about the group of people that I support, as long as they are philosophically sound and they believe in universal intelligence, innate intelligence, and keeping the subluxation lexicon strong in the profession, that's the profession that I support.
Cool. And that's what we teach in animals. The animal chiropractor is a specialist in training in identifying and removing the vertebral subluxation in the quadruped, in animals. And I guess we have to include chickens because they're not a quadruped, but we do adjust animals, and it's huge what that does to the animal's life, what it does to the animal's vigor. And we have done some double-blind studies with chickens, and it's been repeated at least twice now. And 74% of the consumers prefer chiropractically adjusted chicken.
Well, you can only imagine that what you take care of takes care of you.
Right.
And, your body is going to process and something that's nurtured, I would say, more than something that's neglected. And,
correct.
You can even tell in the behavior of a person, if they're nurtured, they are protected, they're taken care of. If they're neglected, they live fight or flight. Their parasympathetics are up and down constantly, and they don't have any status of health. They're very, it's hard to convert that person into conversation. It's hard to make that person feel cared about or loved. So you can only imagine if the food that we're eating comes from a production standpoint rather than a nurture production standpoint, you're going to see how that is on the palate. And us, we want to have the best quality of food possible. We want to source well, we want to source healthy animals, but nobody at the grocery store or the supermarket has any idea of where their food was sourced from. They're just looking at a price tag and the date when it expires. And that's really what the consumer is interested in at the end of the day. If they watched it from conception all the way to the end of life where it hits their dinner table, they would probably have a whole different perception of how they source their protein sources, which is, animal products.
Correct. You bet. Yeah, it's huge. So Anyway, all right. Anything else you would like to talk about?
Well, you reached out and said, hey, let's do an interview on animal chiropractic. And I think that the most important thing when people consider this is that you'll probably talk to a lot of people that are either chiropractors or animal chiropractors or pet owners. I'm none of any of that. So I don't own an animal. I'm not a chiropractor and I'm not a vet, but I am somebody that understands the chiropractic profession really well. And it's because I've entrenched myself into the profession. I worked in an office. I've sold chiropractic and marketing. I've created 2 documentaries on the profession, interviewed over 900 people at this point on the profession. So I think I have a very rich understanding of what chiropractic and where the North Star of this profession is going. So I would hope that everybody out there that's listening would consider seeing not only a chiropractor for your 4-legged family member or your 2-legged family member, which is maybe your family, your spouse, your children, get them checked. And here's the thing about getting checked and adjusted that people probably don't really understand. Most people probably think they need to go to the chiropractor and get cracked or get popped, or a chiropractor can help with like low back pain or neck pain or headaches. And they do a fine job of that, but let's not misconstrue the fact that what they're actually doing is when they remove that subluxation from your vertebrae, it's actually allowing the nerve flow to go functionally to the rest of your organ system, which controls your glands, which controls all of the, blood vessels and cells, and your whole body is animated through your nervous system. If you move bone in the top of your neck by 1 millimeter to the left or right, you're paralyzed. So you can only think about the life force that the brainstem is giving to the rest of the body. If I had an impingement in my vertebrae in my neck, my arm would go dead. And just think about the impingement that makes my arm go dead. Those are the same nerves going to the heart. So you would never want something to start to decay the same way you don't want your teeth to decay. So thinking about, your quality of life through your teeth, that's one thing, but thinking about the quality of life through the osseous formations, which hold the nervous system, which hold the spinal column together, that's another thing. And they do decay at the same rate. If people had to wear their spine on their face like they do their teeth, they'd probably take a whole lot different care about it. So I think understanding that as an advocate for the profession, most people never think about it within that type of, idea. And if you have an abscess on your tooth, you can see it. Your gum's red and swollen. But if you have a subluxation in your spine, you don't know that until somebody does an analysis of your spine and they do palpations and they do x-rays and they find out the health of your spine. And you don't even probably know if your spine has anything going on with it unless somebody pushes on it and you're like, I didn't even know I was tender there. So that means that you have an abscess on your spinal cord. That means that you have an abscess on that vertebrae. That means that you have swelling and inflammation around an area of your nerves that are going to the functionality of your body. So understanding, the way that the physiology of the human body works because of the control center of the nervous system, that has a downstream effect on quality of life and longevity. And one of my good friends, Gordon Hayes, says, I want to see people walking their dog when they're 80 and not their cane. And I really believe that if people really cared about their quality of life, they would care a whole lot more about the quality of their spine, because that's the core of the human. And that's what everything is working off of. So you can go around to any grocery store or any park or across America or wherever you're listening at this, and you can watch people. You can see people that have contortions in their gait when they're walking. You can see people that have low shoulders. You can see people that have heads out like this. You can see people that have distortions in their posture. And what that means is they have a fixation of the spinal joint that's causing some type of discomfort, pain that no one ever knows. We know about this much of what somebody's going through and we judge them from a distance. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people just don't know where to go or who to trust, and they haven't been educated well enough on why they need to have good spinal hygiene as well as they should have good dental hygiene. So hopefully that kind of gives some connection to the way that people think about being on offensive life but they never think about the defensive life. And defensive life is rest and digest, and self-care, self-love. And I think when people think about it, the way that we're trained, we're always trained to go, 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 but we're never trained to stop, stop, stop. And there's no playbook for learning how to slow down. There's only people saying, hey, go hustle, go work harder, go do this, try to make it up the corporate ladder, try to like get the next job and stay busy, busy, busy. But what happens is people busy themselves up so much that they forget how to slow down. They forget how to pay attention to themselves. They forget how to pay attention to those people around us. And maybe that's the pets around them as well.
You bet. All right. Yes. And we hear all the time, you know, and it's in humans as well as animals. I went to my veterinarian and they say there's nothing wrong with my dog. They can't find anything wrong with my dog. And they'll bring x-rays or they'll bring, you know, blood work. And we look at these x-rays with a different viewpoint than the traditional medical paradigm or the traditional veterinary medical paradigm. And we go, oh, yeah, no, that needs to be adjusted there, or this isn't within a, you know, maybe it's normal, but it doesn't mean it's optimal.
Well, here's the thing you're saying is in the health industry, there should be two doctors, one to keep you healthy and one to save you from dying. And I think that there should be the type of doctor to save your dog from dying as well. And that's the veterinarian that gives drugs, surgery, and things of that nature. The cut it out, drug it out, burn it out method. But I really believe that quality of life and longevity now, there's, in my world, I've learned a whole lot about the healers. And there's a strategy called functional medicine. And I really believe that if all veterinarians went to a form of co-manage with functional medicine and chiropractic, they'd have a lot, like you said earlier, a lot more vigorous animal long-term. And they wouldn't be drugged or disabled or laid up or hurting and not performing as the pet that you love.
Correct. It's amazing the difference. So anyway, all right. Well, thank you for coming on the show today. Appreciate it. And y'all keep watching and stay adjusted. Remember, the body heals from above down, inside out. It doesn't matter what body it is, whether it's a human body or an animal body. And we'll talk to you on the next episode. Thank you so much.
If you are or know a veterinarian or chiropractor or a student of either of these professions, visit our website, Animal Chiropractic Education Source, to see how to become certified in animal chiropractic. Start improving the lives of the animals around you. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the ACES channels so that you never miss an exciting episode.